the horror. The horror. We made it back from the apocalypse. Welcome to the Cinema Club, Oye Dímelo Cinema Club. We're here with your lovely hosts. It's a lot of people today. All of this, we got one of this. We got JP Saruno. We got Jason Eccles. We got Naomi Guerra. And we got making his Oye Dímelo debut. You know, the Paraguayan monster.
That is correct.
Paraguayan machine. If you give him Paraguayan candy, he will eat it all in 60 minutes or less.
It's going to be a lot of candy if it's going to take me 60 minutes.
Is Paraguayan candy like Mexican candy? Is it like spicy?
No.
Okay. So
We don't do spicy really at all.
then I will visit Paraguay because I don't like spicy.
I think Tabasco might be our spiciest thing there.
But I don't want to offend my Mexicans because there's some Mexicans here, you know?
Yeah.
There's some Mexicans here that eat chicharrón and hummus, but I'm not going to say who.
What?
Chicharrón hummus is bomb.
Okay.
It's like a keto snack.
Wait, before we get started, tell us about candy on the island of Puerto Rico.
Candy in the island of Puerto Rico, where we import candy a lot. We have our own candy, but it's not that popular.
Yeah, you guys just eat American candy.
Yeah, we eat American candy.
Okay.
We have our Snickers and our Milky Ways and all that stuff. The only thing that I've eaten that's Puerto Rican candy is Goldfield, which is like almost like sand, but sand that tastes sweet.
Is it like those straws that you eat, those sugar straws?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a pixie stick. They come in like a little pilon type of looking thing. I don't know. And you open it, you unravel it, and there's like a little sand looking thing.
Yeah, that's hood candy.
That's
hood candy.
That's that candy.
Yeah.
Much of that you might be tweaking. Yeah. So did everybody watch Apocalypse Now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I fell asleep.
Hey, same
Oh my gosh.
But
Sounds like you watched it.
But I started it.
here. Same here, but I finished it.
I didn't have the time to finish it. I was gonna, but I literally just got back from work, started it last night, and I was like, damn, this is not a great intro to my cinema club. But I'm here. I am present.
Till when did you like? What was the last thing you remember?
Honestly, I don't know. That was the last thing I saw. I was so tired last night. I was like, I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll find time. Didn't find time. But I talked about it at work. At my job, I was like, who's watched Apocalypse Now? Because I need to talk about it later. And they were like, how have you not watched that movie? It's a classic. And I'm like, well, I'm going to watch it eventually. But I want to hear what you guys have to say.
So this is my favorite part of the show.
I'm honest. Also, I had alcohol in me, so
yeah.
I'm be spinning facts.
What are you drinking?
A hot toddy.
Nice. That's for like when you're sick. Are you sick?
No, but you know what? I needed some tea today, and I needed a drink, so you gotta mix the both of them.
Wait,
no harm in that.
Alcohol for when you're sick? What?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a hot toddy, yeah, it's like good for your throat because it's hot, but like you still want to get lit, so you put some whiskey in it. It's whiskey, lemon, honey, and whatever tea you want to put in there. Typically, I put green tea.
Because the only way that I know what a hot toddy is because of Usher or something.
Oh,
Somebody.
song?
There was a song called Hot Toddy.
Yeah, by Usher, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I know about that drink.
No, this is a hot toddy.
Okay.
What album was that? 8701? Anybody? No.
Oh, I don't know.
I was a big Usher head back in the day, but
I like Usher. But I've never heard of that song. I don't think so.
So great. Monica didn't watch the movie and did,
I apologize.
she did what I did in high school, when I didn't read the books,
I did a whole 3-minute spoiler on YouTube.
Oh man.
I was like, what is this about?
I
I'm spilling all the beans right now.
Yeah, reading it. Some people, we literally had to extract the information from them. AKA George, that's why he's not here anymore.
Oh gosh.
But I just
Sure, I'm definitely watching this next movie.
every episode. So yeah, first time. Raise your hand if this was your first time watching that movie.
For sure.
Oh wow.
Oh wow! Now I can see who the real movie nerds are.
Although it had been over 10 years since I had watched it, and I watched it yesterday, so much I had forgotten about the movie.
Same.
I was like, oh, this happened in this movie? I was just like Robert Duvall's character, I knew his character, I knew all the famous lines and all the famous shots, but just what their characters were or what they were doing, I was completely, the whole surfing thing, I had completely forgotten about the surfing.
Yeah.
I watched it twice. I'm weird. One with captions, one without.
You watched it back to back twice?
Well, 2 days ago, and it was on silent. My little niece was crying, so I couldn't really hear. And
Got you.
sirens
that's
are
dope.
blaring.
You
And then I
are.
watched it again with captions, and then I kind of had a different perspective, and I think Kurt is a hero in some sense.
Yeah. What language was the captions in?
English.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm hard of hearing. I wish we all had captions in real life. To be
That
honest.
was my issue. So on my movie, for some reason, I couldn't watch it with captions. And I wanted to watch it with captions, but for some reason.
Yeah, I always prefer to watch things with captions. I always was against it at first because I felt like it ruined the movie. But then sometimes I'm like, I am missing what they actually mean because I don't know what they're saying. So I need the words.
Especially for this movie, because this movie, there's super loud gunshots, very whispery ASMR dialogue.
That's the reason why I watched it twice.
A lot of whispering.
That happened to me. So I watched half of it on Monday because I fell asleep. And then I watched a little bit on Tuesday, and then I finished it on Wednesday or something like that. It's like a drag to me just because it triggers so much PTSD on me. Gunshots, black people getting killed left and right. Morpheus was gone. I'm like, no, what's going to happen to the Matrix?
I know, right?
Man, he was young in that movie. Damn, Laurence Fishburne.
Can we talk about that for a second? So when he auditioned for this movie, he lied and said he was 18 years old. When he shot the movie, he was only 14 years old.
No shit.
He's only 14 in the movie. And they didn't know that until he was already in Vietnam. Now remember, this movie was shot right after the Vietnam War. And so the studio put a lot of money into this because this is also right after A Godfather. So Francis Ford Coppola is the man, you know what I mean, when he makes this movie. The movie took 18 months to shoot because they kept having tsunami weather, or not tsunami, what do you call it, monsoon season. So there was monsoon season in Vietnam at the time. There was all these production delays. The crew was getting malaria and getting sick.
I thought it was shot in the
I heard that
the
there was
Philippines.
a curse on this movie to make.
Some people said it was a curse on the movie.
I was going to say, I don't think if the war just ended, they were going to be able to film in Vietnam.
Right, in Vietnam. I'm sorry, in the Philippines. So Laurence Fishburne's parents, now mind you, Laurence Fishburne is out of school for almost 2 years while he's making this movie. And his parents there's no real communication. His parents don't know where he is. So finally they're calling the production company, the studio, and Francis Ford Coppola, hey, give us back our son. It's been 10 months. The movie's supposed to be done 4 months ago. And he goes, no, I gotta finish. Give me 1 more month. And then another month goes by. They're okay, we want our son back. And then another 2 weeks go by. Give us. So they finally flew.
These white men got my son.
And they don't know what happened to him. He's 14. So then when the movie started, he was 14. He was like almost 16 when it was done. And so when the movie, so they fly to the Philippines. They're like, give us back our son. And Coppola's like, you can't have him. And they're like having a tug of war. And he ends up giving them like some undisclosed amount of money to let Larry Fishburne, because he's Larry as a kid, stay in the Philippines to finish making this movie.
Damn.
Crazy.
What a trip. What a trip.
You just don't check paperwork back in that day?
Lied on the paperwork. Yeah. I don't know, but the documents, right? So he still had to get a passport and all that kind of stuff. So who knows?
See, that's why you need unions.
I mean, if you guys had unions, you wouldn't have been in that movie. You did a really good job.
Yeah.
It's probably a non-union budget film, you know, like $100. That's what happened. For the people that never seen the movie, what were your thoughts on the movie?
It was definitely a trip. Like I saw the Blu-ray final cut version of the movie because I knew of the film. I knew that there was like a different versions of the film made. So I saw that one, and I definitely did not expect it to have as many almost tonal turns within the movie, because I feel like especially like every section of the movie, it literally could have been its own little movie. Yeah. Like the surfing in the Martin Sheen being alone in his little hotel room or something in Saigon, the whole surfing scene, the whole scene with him, with them and the French people, and then straight up at the end with Marlon Brando when you finally find out like what Kurtz is doing. Those are all different stories and like so different, and somehow they made it into one big story. It's like I didn't expect that. It was like damn. Plus it took its time. Like that movie did take its time setting up a lot of shit.
How long was the version you watched, the Blu-ray uncut?
It was 3 hours. I mean, it was 3 hours long. It didn't feel that way, to be honest. Like I was expecting to feel the time, but like I was more surprised at how tonally different almost each scene and like moment was. You know, it was like a different chapter of a book in a way.
You said with the French part?
Yeah, there was a moment where they meet up with these, I don't want to say French colonizers, but like apparently, I guess in the history of Vietnam, there was French colonizers like in Vietnam. Were there before. Yeah, and so like he has this whole conflict with them, whereas like, well, this isn't your guys' place. Like you guys are from France. It's like, nah, we've been here for over 70 years. This is our fucking joint, you know. And you can go into this whole sort of thing of how the French sees war versus the Americans. And then also there's this weird moment where I guess one of the French ladies is seducing Martin Sheen's character in a way, but nothing happens of that. She just kind of tells him like every man is a man and a monster, or a lover and a monster. You just gotta pick between the two who you are. And that moment was weird because that felt like old Hollywood in a movie that really wasn't. I was like, who is this lady?
That was not in my version. I have.
No.
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 cuts of the movie.
Yeah,
I watched it on HBO Go, so that was 2.5 hours.
That's the shortcut.
Yeah, and but it feels long because it does take its time to set everything up, and I feel like it really feels like you're just in the boat, you know, coasting along the river. I think it does a really good job with that, of just setting up the whole environment.
Then that makes sense because like because that was the only cut that I've seen was the 3-hour one, and I'll admit that whole moment with him and the French folk, that seemed really out of place. I was like, oh, okay, like I was kind of getting into it because, you know, I was already getting used to like each moment being its own moment, but that in itself, it was completely almost out of left turn. Like, all right, And that's also where that was that in that scene. That's where they buried Laurence Fishburne's character clean. The French people helped bury him, which was also another thing. Like something really crazy happened, and then all of a sudden we're sitting down in this weird sort of philosophical moment of finding out like what is home, what is nationality, how does one take pride in war, you know? It was nuts.
Now I kind of want to go see that I guess extra scenes because it sounds really interesting, and especially with those themes of that you're talking about of how the French see war versus how the American and then the idea of like the man and the monster, which the whole film is that, right? Like what does war do to humans, right?
Yeah, especially at the end. Well, that one is available. I got it on Amazon Prime. You can rent it or own it.
Is that the director's cut or the final cut?
It's the final cut. So it's, I think, a 2012 release, I think.
Yeah,
but that's what it's called. Apocalypse Now Final Cut.
Right. So the one that's on HBO, I believe, is the studio cut.
So which cut should I watch?
All of them.
I only got time for one.
Well, you could choose 2 hours and 40 minutes or the straight 3 hours. One of the two.
Which one? You want to spend 3 hours or do you want to spend more dollars?
See, we'll see. Let's see how convincing this movie is. Uh-oh.
What about, so Steve and Isaac and Naomi, this is your first time through. Or no, wait, you guys,
No,
second time?
Me and Naomi and Isaac.
Twice. Well, once, twice. You know what I mean?
And technically, Naomi is her first time, but she saw the movie twice.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is based off a book too. Like it's inspired off a book, Heart of Darkness, and that one's a little bit.
You know
different.
what? That's what my partner. She threw this at me.
I didn't know that it was based on that.
It's not really based, but like inspired, more or so.
Okay. That's what I kind of got off the trailer that I saw. I was like, the trailer also I could be completely wrong because I didn't watch the movie, but I know it's based like on Vietnam and whatever. But the whole Colonel Kurtz like having he's like the god of these people just kind of reminded me of the movie The Beach with like Leonardo DiCaprio when he goes to like Thailand and he goes to like this island and he's like everything is great and grand, but like these people are fucking brainwashed and then they end up killing each other. So I feel like it's kind of like that in that sense of, but I'm not sure. That's the vibe I got though. I could be completely wrong.
Kurt is a hero.
Kurt is a hero?
I think so.
That's funny.
Can you go into that? Or JP, say what you're going to say, but Naomi, I want to hear your Kurt is a hero theory.
No, because like what?
If he was given, each of us have a job title to do. So if your job title is to destroy a group of people, you will not do that once you have reached darkness. Once you reach darkness, there's a level of enlightenment. So this dude went to fucking Harvard. He went to these fancy ass schools. He got taught all this whitewashed education. So when he goes to this village, like these people fucking eat rice. These people, oh God, that sounds wrong. But these people are like, not wrong. Why do I have to destroy them? So it's like, I will not do that. I will not destroy a group of people who, like, I don't know. I see him as a hero in that sense because he didn't do what he had to do. You know what I mean? But he did go over there to Vietnam, but he just didn't follow the orders of, these people. The colonel, the power people. I hate names and labels.
But that was part of the thing why they wanted him.
Because he didn't like coincidir or no coincidió con like con las reglas, or he didn't follow rules.
Yeah.
So he was like not being obedient to the rules that the government was making him do. So he
but he got shit done, at least at the beginning, right? That was how he kept being promoted, because even though he wasn't following the military guidelines, he was going in and he was just taking over and taking over to a certain point where they're finally kind of like, okay, this guy is now completely loose, right? Because he was able to break rules but still get us what we wanted. He's now been able to do so much, and now he won't listen, right?
Yeah. So like I don't know, I see him in a hero sense for not really like getting rid of human in that side of the world.
I thought he did a whole lot of killing. I don't know. Maybe I just saw him as like basically anyone that goes in to try and liberate another country that comes in with like
entering darkness and like I don't know, Buddhist ways or something. Like you have to be in the darkness to like fight enlightenment. So that's why he didn't really like do his final step. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. That's how I see it. And I'm like, this motherfucker turned into a Buddha like last minute and like didn't get rid of these people. Like that's how I saw it. So I see him as a hero.
Okay, but when at the very end, Martin Sheen, after he's looking through whatever he wrote, and it
red
says
ink.
Yeah, and it just says bomb everything, right? Terminate everyone.
But those are like, in my understanding, I felt like those were like his notes from what he was given. No, like I don't know. Maybe I like dozed off or something.
No, I think it was Marlon Brando's character. It was Kurtz's, because Martin Sheen's character was kind of hints it in his internal dialogue.
Yep.
Whereas Kurtz's final end game was not only for him to be killed by Willard, but also for Willard to kill and destroy what Kurtz created. So Willard decided not to do that at all, or at least that's how I took it. Well, just by killing Kurtz and then leaving them alone was kind of a good compromise, because he got the job done, but these people, he has no beef with them, you know?
Well, and I think that's how he somewhat keeps his sanity, by just not committing, even more genocide, and by taking the surfer boy with him. I forget what that.
Fucking his name started with a D, Dylan or something.
Lance?
I don't know. I don't know. It started with
the poet, Lance, the warrior poet.
It was Lance.
The surfer dude.
The surfer
dude, Lance. Yeah.
So Isaac, what do you make of that?
Did you say me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw this film when I was a teenager, and that it kind of introduced me to cinema, because before then I was more like into, like, I guess, crappy movies, or movies that didn't provoke me to think. But yeah, like in the political side, it's like America's exploiting these men and calling it a good thing to protect civilization and democracy, but yet it's like the theme of the movie is going down the river. You're going down to like your primitive side, and like you're shedding away your humanity.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the movies that's one of the elements that really draws me into the movie, along with like the acting and the chemistry between the crew and the cinematography. But it's like that was the first movie that really like presented a question and didn't have like the Hollywood structure. It was just kind of like out there, like JP said. It's just like vignettes, and I don't know if Willard really learns anything. I guess like taking Lancey, kind of that represents like bringing back a little bit of his humanity with him. But yeah, it's just a really, like, I think it's like a work of art in the way that it's made, presented, and the political views, especially coming off of Vietnam, which was like so confusing for Americans to grasp. Like, what were we doing there? And I mean, to stop the spread of the Iron Curtain, but it's like mixing in the Viet Cong with the South Vietnamese. It was just like a cluster of just bad things. So I think the movie really reflects that pretty well.
Steve?
I agree with everything you just said, you know. Yeah, to me, there's so many things about the movie. I guess I was more concerned of, I took that point of view of like, oh, this is like they're playing like a little game with these people, you know, because they're like, they just ship them and send them there. They hope they be successful, but there's no way of them really knowing if they're gonna be successful. You know,
that's interesting, right?
The other thing that I found very interesting was the fact that, like, at the end, when he like killed him, all these people had like all these guns, and then because he just dropped his little blade or thing, everybody dropped their guns.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, to me, that's interesting, because I would think like at least one of those extras, if this was like a real case scenario, here's a movie.
Yeah.
But if it's a real case scenario, one of those extras would like just go crazy with that gun. You know what I'm saying? Also, how do you direct all those people? Like, that's insane. Because I bet those people, most of them don't even speak English. So that to me was fascinating. Of like, how, I want to see how behind the scenes of how this movie got.
18 months.
18 months, yeah.
18 months. There's a play about the making of this movie. I forget the name of it. I read it in college, but most of the play takes place in like a hut that the studio built for the crew to live in. And it's just like a man and a woman kind of like dealing with their own issues while living on the set at the time. And like crew members are getting sent home from malaria, and there's a monsoon happening outside. And, there's translators, because they don't even know how to get their own food. You know what I mean? Because they need a ton of extra people on the island to help them. And it's so many moving parts or whatever. But a lot of people believe that the making of the movie is more interesting than the movie itself.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely like watching the movie. I was interested in like, how is this got made? Because like there's so many movies, especially from back in the day, that are so freaking good, and it took so much to make happen. Versus like these days, they turn a Star Wars movie in a year. Back in that day in the 80s, which regardless, those movies are way better. It took forever. So that's what I was mainly interested in. And then I guess like halfway through the movie, I was like, wasn't Marlon Brando supposed to be in this movie? I'm like, where is he? And
I
then
thought the same thing when I first saw it.
And then when he came on screen, I'm like, man, he's a racist and everything. Because once I found out, oh, he's like a big racist, I'm like, I'm not a big fan of Marlon Brando, but goddamn, can he act? He's a great actor.
Oh, wait, you think Marlon Brando was a racist in real life?
Oh, he was.
No!
Bro, he did blackface, bro.
Did he?
Yes.
In what?
Google it.
All right. Marlon Brando marched with MLK.
Okay.
And he put his whole career on the line. He spoke out
for Native American.
Yeah, he rejected an Oscar.
And let a Native American actress go and.
Didn't know about blackface. Who knows?
I don't know. He did the blackface thing.
I gotta see this. Motherfucker, Marlon Brando.
Someone just mentioned to me today, though, that they basically, part of the issue was also he was extremely hard to work with, and that he was having body issues, and so he felt that he was fat, and so they basically, that's why, everything is in the shadow in his scenes.
Yeah.
And Coppola, I guess, was writing the end of the movie almost daily, because Marlon Brando just kept like changing everything or being extremely hard to work with, and then also not memorizing lines and stuff like that. So that's why it's also so trippy, because you have someone like Marlon Brando, and apparently is just like has all these demands that they had to kind of follow so that he would be in it.
Because I'm fat. Put the shadows on because I'm fat.
So it looks like Brando not only did blackface, he did Mexican face and Asian face.
See? Big time racist. It's not like, oh, I'm sorry, I did blackface, I didn't know.
Maybe he atoned for it when he stuck up during the civil rights movement and he stuck up for the Native people.
Yeah, he was someone that marched with them and also donated a bunch of money. In Dick Gregory's memoir, he talks about Marlon Brando and actually also Hugh Hefner and a few other like white celebrities of the time that either donated a lot of money to the cause to like bail people out or food, and then apparently that Hugh Hefner donated his jet to flying canned foods and stuff like that to the different communities in the South and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, not that he didn't do blackface or anything, but he was there, I guess, marching alongside all of the the original civil rights movement.
So if I could tell a quick blackface antidote, I really hated Judy Garland because I saw all these pictures online of her doing blackface. And then I ended up watching the Judy Garland movie, and they kind of explained it a little bit. Now, I don't know if the movie's true or how much of that, but it made me feel a little less like hatred toward her because, Judy Garland was another one of those people who was a child star. She's like a teenager in Hollywood, and she didn't have any say, and she didn't have like any parents kind of guiding her. Her parents were off wherever. She was basically an orphan in Hollywood, and the studio execs and the managers and all that kind of stuff were just taking advantage of her and just kind of putting her through the rigmarole. So she didn't have a choice or a say in anything. She couldn't choose what movie she was in, what she wore, her makeup, like none of that stuff. So when I saw her in blackface, I'm like, you know what? It was the 40s and she didn't have a say. She had to do in blackface whether she believed in it or not. So I don't hate her as much given, she was basically a slave in the studio system.
Right.
So could have been the same way for Brando. I don't know. I felt good about him sticking up for Native people and marching with King, and he said that he would do anything he could to help move civil rights forward. And at that time, no one liked black people in America, and he put his career on the line for that. So I don't know, but he did still do Asian face. So who knows? People are complex.
Even Sean Connery did Asian face in one of the Bond movies, and that's way more recent,
Oh, I don't think I ever saw that one.
Yeah, it's like the fourth one or something. He like kind of paints his face like literally a little yellow and makes his eyes like white. It's pretty bad. And I think puts like buck teeth in, I think is one of the, So, I mean, it's there. So a couple of things, just going back to the movie, one thing that reminded me of was Hot Shots Part 2. Because I feel like so much of that movie is based off Apocalypse Now / also Casablanca. And then
Rambo.
And what?
Rambo.
Yeah, and Rambo, of course. And then Tropic Thunder also is another one.
Especially the beginning, I felt all that vibe.
Like and at the very end, all the whole town, that Simple Jack, they all kind of see him as a as a god in that sense, because all they got ended up being that VHS of Simple Jack.
Tropic Thunder.
Okay, I'll give you guys another Marlon Brando story in relation to Apocalypse Now. Because I'm one of those people, I loved Apocalypse Now. The first hour and 50 minutes of it, I think is incredible. Like, when I was first watching it, I'm like, this movie is super dope. But then it takes a turn for me when Brando shows up. Because I'm like, what movie am I watching now? This is not the same movie I signed up for. Turns out, when Marlon Brando was cast in this movie, like he was cast under the assumption that he would get into the best shape of his life. He was supposed to be shredded in this movie. You know, he was supposed to come out with like army fatigue pants on, like shredded army fatigue pants on, like shorts basically, because like he hawked out and just like this ripped beast in the jungle because he was like an army commander. And after about 15 months of shooting, when they finally flew him out to the Philippines, because he's like the last part of the movie, he showed up like 100 pounds overweight. and the studio was like, "What are you doing, Brando?" And he goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like, I heard you guys are taking a long time. I'm going to lose weight while I'm on set. So don't even worry about it. I'm going to be working out every day." He gained 10 pounds while he was on set. And so that's why the only reason that first part of him, like his first big monologue, he's in the shadows for like the first 2 minutes of the movie. Like that first like few weeks they were shooting, they're like, just shoot him with a shadow on him because he's a jerk. And he didn't know his lines. Mm-hmm. This is the part of Brando's career where he just didn't care anymore. He had finally won an Oscar for, he had won his second Oscar for The Godfather. And he just stopped caring. And he just got fat and weird and lazy. And I don't even think he's good in this movie. Do you guys think he's good? I know Naomi probably has an idea about it, but I'm interested in what you guys actually thought of his performance.
Interesting. Actually, I read that in the book, I heard the audio book last night. Okay, so
dang, you did your research.
Yeah.
Sort of, just on like the history or something, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
research.
I kind of do. I don't know. So, where were we going?
Wait, talk about Brando's performance.
His performance. So in El Libro, they show Kurt's passing by natural causes. However, in the movie, they show him being killed by this fool Willard, and basically like I don't know, like now that you're sharing a perspective of what kind of body imagery he was probably going through, like that probably determines why he was hidden. Because like from my first time, I'm like, where is this fool Marlon Brando? I like, where's he at? I don't see him. So finalmente, when I saw him in his like first scene, I'm like, why is he hidden? And then it's just like they did it on purpose. But now I know why. Like, why is he hidden? It's this big guy. Like, why is he being hidden? So now that you're sharing that, like that probably is why. But in the book, the Kurtz dies in natural causes, and he doesn't get shot by Willard. And that's like all I know. Like, and then in the book, it's more like like mission based, inspired by the plot or whatever. I don't know, and like it's more based on the Congo and this dude Kurtz, who is like into ivory importing and stuff like that. So it's like a different scenario and area, and time is like 1901 in the book, or 1900 Polish era, some shit like that. I don't know.
That's why the books are always better than the movie.
Sometimes, but they made this movie relevant to Vietnam, and they just got inspired by the book. So
yeah.
Hey,
but like,
Monica, did you know that? I'm sorry, Naomi. Were you?
No, I'm done.
Monica, did you know that Harrison Ford was in the movie?
I did not.
Yeah.
Very young Han Solo.
I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot too. I was like, who is that young guy?
Pass. I'm just kidding.
He was a blast from the past.
Yeah. Monica,
actually, a young Harrison Ford is really handsome. I forgot that he was a handsome ass dude.
Let me look him up.
I popped for him when he came on screen. I was like, "Oh my God, Han Solo!"
Yeah.
But it's true, like I forgot he was even there.
And this is right after Star Wars. He did this movie.
Yeah.
But before Indiana Jones, that was the first half of the movie. I was just me like, "Oh my God, that's so and so." Oh my God.
Why didn't anyone remember him in this movie?
Well, he's only in the first 5 minutes.
But it's still Harrison Ford.
What did
he didn't look the same. His hair was combed differently, like tailored.
Oh yeah, big ass glasses.
He looked sloppy. Like I seen him in real life, and he has this like sloppy look on him. And he looked very tailored and shit like that, like clean. So
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him myself until I squinted really hard. I'm like, that's full Harrison Ford.
Full on military, clean Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I saw him recently, but he was doing the Wild movie, so he looked just homeless. Because in that movie, he has the long white hair and the beard. So I saw him and I was like, man, Harrison doesn't care anymore. He's just
the movie with the dog, right?
Yeah, the movie.
Was it good?
Not the. I'm saying in person. He came to Fox that one day.
Oh right, yeah.
And
okay.
so I just
I
just thought I was like, man, he's
up.
really let himself go.
Yeah.
But in the movie, my biggest question was, who was that other guy in that room, the non-military guy that had the white hair, kind of bowl cut, and a tie, undone tie.
With he didn't say anything.
He had like one line.
So I thought he was kind of like the Casablanca character, where he just like he's in another country and he knows people that knows people, and he's the guy that can get you intel for a price. That's what I assumed. I could be wrong though, but he kind of looked like that. He looked like the Frenchy kind of dude who's like, I know some people who can get into the jungle and tell you what's going on, but it's going to cost you military.
Oh, I thought he was more part of the government.
He could have been, but he wasn't wearing.
CIA. No,
was he CIA?
I thought he was. I don't know.
Well, that would make sense too.
Pretty faded when I watch these things.
I watched it in the middle of the day yesterday because I was like, I know I'm gonna fall asleep if I do it at night. I was like, I'm staying with my aunt and she was at work, so I just had it blaring really loud because I was like, I can't hear them talk. I was like, I either need the subtitles or else I have no idea what they're talking about.
That's why I watched it twice, because the first time I'm like, I can't hear shit. What the fuck? And I had this at 99. Come on now. So it's just, I think the way the film was made, no?
I think, yes. I think the way it's mixed for the theaters, because it was, there weren't videos at home at that time. The way the sound audio is mixed is so that the explosions are really loud, right? And you can't get away from it in the theater. And so you're just getting hit with these ba-ba-ba-ba and bullets and stuff. And it's supposed to be jarring and uncomfortable for the audience. Francis Ford Coppola basically was working with, who's that other director? Stanley Kubrick at the time. And they were working on this technology, that THX technology. And if you watch another movie in theaters called 2001 Space Odyssey, it's the same way.
I love that.
Yeah? So if you watch it at home, there's certain parts of the movie that are really loud that you'll turn down. You'll turn down the sound because, like, this is uncomfortable. I saw it in the theater like 2 years ago. And in the theater, it gets so loud that you have to cover your ears because it's just wildly uncomfortable. And then I realized for the first time, Kubrick wanted it to be that way because they had just developed those new speakers that could like blow out your ears in the theater.
The experience.
The experience, yeah. You got it. The THX experience stuff.
That's the UX experience in the 70s.
And so they were, and they were testing out those new speakers. So that's why the audio is a little weird today. The only way you're really going to experience this movie's audio properly is if you watch it in-house, in theaters.
Captions are ideal, I promise you.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I'm like, damn, Jason.
I'm going to mute it.
Wait, so
an asshole.
It's a must. Sorry, I had to take a call.
But JP, I have a question since you watched the final cut. Yeah. What happened to the dog?
They never brought that up. Like, okay, the Lance kept saying, "Where the fuck's the dog?" And it's like, yo, they just killed Clean, man. They just killed Clean, you asshole.
That is the same emotion I got. I'm like, why is this fool worried about a dog when this fool just died? Like, what the fuck is this fool's problem?
There was a weird moment though, because I was watching the movie with my partner, where the French scene that is not in the original cut, they actually bring up an analogy about if an angel passes by, you eat it or something like that along those lines. And she thought that they said the dog. It's like the French ate the dog. It's like no. We don't know. Who the fuck cares about the dog? The dog got 3 other people killed. Who the
Yeah.
fuck gives a shit about the dog? I
But,
felt so bad. The poor puppy. It didn't have to go through all that crap.
No, you feel bad for everyone, for Clean and Chef with the tiger. You know, like all he wanted was mangoes, and I was just like, I did not like. In Paraguay, I grew up with mangoes like next door. Any tree, you just throw a rock. So when he's going in search for mangoes, I'm like, that's not a mango tree. That's not a mango tree. I was just like, this is not gonna end well. I was like, that forest is way too overgrown. Then the tiger just jumps out of nowhere.
That I did not expect. I did not expect the tiger, especially right after the whole fun surfing scene. After that, I was like, "Oh fuck!"
That was a fun surfing scene. That was very jarring.
It was chaotic.
I mean, what a great character, though. It's like you can either surf or you can go fight.
Oh, bitch.
Yeah.
Surf or die.
Yeah, I was just like, I guess I'll surf.
He kept on apologizing. It's the napalm. Napalm's messing up the wind. Don't worry about it. Like, why are you apologizing for the fucking people are dying?
You know, I love that they bring up napalm and make it a whole scene in the movie. Because years later, we will find out, like, the effects of napalm on these people. Like, there's people now who are getting cancer or who have cancer who fought in Nam from that napalm exposure. Agent Orange and all that kind of stuff.
I've heard of Agent Orange. I don't know. I read only the intro, so I was like, fuck this.
It's ugly.
I need to relax my mental state. There's too much to read.
It's ugly, man. And the American government, obviously, they're paying out like reparations to these people now. But I mean, like, they expose these people to some real traumas, you know?
And that was
everywhere, though.
That was the subject that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Is because that's highlighted even at the top of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a trauma that all these people go through. Because not only are you seeing people dying constantly, that's the reason also it took me like a couple of days to watch it, because I was just like, oh my God, this is like too much.
I was reading that generational trauma dura like 3 años. Like 3, like not 3 años, 3 generations.
I was going to say, how can generational only...
Hold on. It lasts like 3 generations. So let's say my mom was in the Civil War in El Salvador. So like I don't know. I feel like I'm alert as fuck. Like, shit, what's that? You know what I mean? Like, because it's just like instinct. Like, pero se pega, like genetics, her blood triggers at that certain age. Like, I don't know. Like,
so you're referencing that Harvard study that came out a few years ago where they said that trauma is in our cells and it gets transported to our offsprings in our DNA.
Exactly.
So stuff that your grandparents might have experienced, you still have like that cellular memory where like that stuff will set you off and you don't know why.
That right there.
Yeah.
That right there is true. I'm putting down because you're below me, even though I don't know if it looks weird. Like,
yeah, you're below me, so
you're both below me, so there you go.
Anyway.
Yeah.
No, but putting this into right context, like if generational trauma dura like 3 generations and stuff. So like there's so many triggers. Even you like walking down the street, you're triggered by something like a sound of a car. Like, why would that make me like? Why would that make me like move like that? But it's because our parents probably experienced something during a certain time of their lives that the cellular molecular levels like evolve with us, and we feel their triggers. So it's a fucking trip. I've been reading about generational trauma for the past
just to piggyback on that, I thought for when the movie came out, the amount of stuff that it hit so well with the PTSD, the when I'm here I want to be there, and when I'm there I want to be here.
Amazing.
And just, you know, Ken Burns came out with a Vietnam show, and then they even talk about the government knowing that the war was already like unwinnable. Within like the first year of the Vietnam War, the U.S. government was already like, yeah, we're not going to win this. But none of them in charge wanted to come out as a, like, we lost this war. So
Nobody
they just
wanted to be the weak president.
Yeah, so they just kept like send more people, spend more money.
Egos.
Terrible.
Yeah. So, but you were gonna add something, Naomi? I thought you raised your hand.
I raised my hand like in the part where donde dijiste. Fuck, I lost my mind. I lost my train of thought.
Oh, being here and wanting to be there.
And being here and wanting to be there. Because when we don't have like human brain, when we don't have access to something, someone, or anything in general sense, we miss it. So I'm here, but I want to be outside. Once I'm outside, I don't want to be outside. I want to be home. So it's like
I don't have access
to home when I'm outside.
What did you say that was?
Like not having access, like our human brain. Once we don't have something, we want it. Like when we're kids, we see a kid playing with a ball. I wanted to play with that ball. Well, you didn't have access to it. Now you want to play with it. So, you know what I mean? Like,
or when you're a kid, you want to be an adult. And then when you're an adult, you want to be a kid again.
I don't have access to being a child.
Yeah.
You know,
okay. So that's actually,
when you're adult like me, you know, and you're like running out of weed. So you go like, I'm going to quit. And then you don't have it for a while. And you go like, you know what? I got money. I can buy a little bit. And then you go like, you know what? After I'm done with this, I'm going to quit again.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
I think that explains the Vietnam War right there. You're
nailed it. All right, Steve. Well, why don't you go ahead and get people's final impressions? Looks like we're about there.
Okie dokie. Well, first and foremost, which character would you identify the most with?
And no one can choose the dog. The dog is out. Okay.
I gotta say Kurt. I relate with Kurt. I feel like I reached a level of darkness at one point in my life, and now I'm like enlightened, and I want to share whatever I have here to everyone. So that's just me.
Yeah.
My opinion.
I like that.
Go ahead, people. Go ahead.
I think I relate most to the warrior poet, just like the hippy dippy dude who's like in the middle of it all and just kind of experiencing it.
The journalist.
Yeah, the Dennis Hopper character. Yeah.
Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, I'm a watcher. You know what I mean? I'm not involved. I'm just like, let me study it and see what it is.
Capture the moment type of thing.
Yeah.
Observe, not absorb.
Absorb.
I think
there we go.
One of the soldiers for sure. Little quick side note, in Paraguay, it's mandatory military service.
Mm-hmm.
More like when you turn 17, you have to go and do your summer in the military. So basically a boot camp training, which by the way, there were helicopters, hand-me-down helicopters from Vietnam War, I believe, in the Paraguayan military.
Wow.
So I went to the mount. I was in the cavalry, and like one of the last days, the major that was in charge of us was kind of disappointed in how that summer had gone, and in part because the cavalry had tried to overthrow the government a few years past. So the government took away all the tanks from the cavalry as well as like their helicopters. So we got like nothing except for horses. And the major was like, Spazzini, which is my last name, stand up. And the guy is like, right here we have Spazzini as an example of what a true soldier is. He's not the best at anything, but he comes every single day and tries the hardest. He's the only one of you guys that has anything that would remotely like have what it takes to be a soldier. It was like the best double-handed compliment in the sense of like, I have what it takes to be a soldier, but I suck at everything. So it makes me think like, I guess I would be naive, like clean, right? Just like following orders and just kind of happy-go-lucky.
So who is that? What character is that?
Larry Fishburne.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would think I would be between clean or a chef, because I think I would make it towards the end, and I think I would be at the end turned enough by war where I would be like, all right, I'm gonna call to blow it up, because that's what chef tried to do, but at the very end. So I think sorry, that was a longer explanation, but it just made me think of my tiny little stint in the Paraguayan mounted cavalry that made me think like, oh, I'm really good at following orders, but not very good at the things they want me to do.
I feel the same way. That's how I could kind of relate to Chef. And also he's very eccentric and he's very like no bullshitter type of guy. But I'm not gonna lie, a lot of things go over my head. So I feel like I would actually be more like Lance. Like just like, why the fuck is he in this movie? Like what? Why is he here?
Charlie, dude, he was too much of a LA person,
right? And he had fucking Willard ends up saving his ass as like It's funny that we talked a little bit like if that was symbolic of any sort. I was like, no, why the fuck are you taking him with you? Get the fuck out of there! He's having fun with these motherfuckers. Leave him be.
Well, he dropped acid right before they get to the.
He dropped acid like. I think he dropped acid like a while ago, and like even my partner was saying like, did he take more? Because he's still acting the same. It was like he probably has a fucking whole tablet or something.
He's LA. Come on now.
Right? Oh, God. He has a full fucking prescription. So that'd be me. Like I'm just so out of it that I'm not aware of the whole situation at hand.
Yeah.
What about you, Isaac?
Hold on.
How's the puppy, Isaac?
I'll make this quick. I want to say Chef because he's my favorite character, but I'm no chef. I think Willard, just because we're both observant and we're just watching everything and just trying to get our job done.
Mm.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'll jump on that really quick, just because what I noticed with this movie, with other movies from that time, how much was on Martin Sheen and just seeing him reacting.
Yeah.
And again, it could be because Marlon Brando, they didn't want to film him, so it's just his lines and him just looking into a camera. So like a lot of the movie was just seeing him, hearing what was going around him, and him reacting to everything. And I thought that hadn't done, you hadn't seen that much, I think, in film at that point, where you see more how someone reacts to what's going around. Not even though there was a lot of narration, inner monologue, just seeing him at times silently reacting to his surroundings, I thought really, they really moved the movie.
Centered, aligned. Yeah. Chakras aligned. That's what I think.
There wasn't really a main character.
I think they recut the movie in that way, honestly. Like you said, because of the Brando stuff. But also, I think they kind of hint toward that in the very intro of the movie when they show him suffering from like that PTSD, but wanting to get back to war, but being bored. And, he's like losing his mind in that little room. I think, the fact that we can spend so much time on his face throughout the movie was probably a lot of re-edits to make those final scenes make sense.
Yeah, he has a cut. He has a Band-Aid for a good while. and then the Band-Aid's gone, and it's like fully has scarred. Like in close-ups, you can see like, oh yeah, he definitely had a cut at some point.
Yep.
So depending when they were filming out of order or whatever, time definitely did pass.
Well.
All right, guys. So, what are your thoughts about the ending and final thoughts on the movie?
Well, actually, Steve, I gotta go.
Okie dokie.
Get ready for work.
All right, bye-bye, Isaac. Have a good shift.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Isaac.
Oh, bye, Monica.
Take it
Bye.
easy,
I'm
Isaac.
back. I'm back. I heard everything. I just was doing things.
Take care, Steve. Thank you for this meeting. Bye, JP.
Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
Yeah, next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess to go back way ago about Brando's performance, definitely not his best. It kind of helped that that he was supposed to play someone off the edge. That some of the weird choices that he did made sense, because I could have sworn that when we first saw him, he actually had the character choice in his mind, like what this guy's gonna be. But he went a little Corleone near the end. Like, you're an assassin.
Yes.
You call me on a presence. You're a cigar coming. But I actually appreciate the ending, because I did not expect Martin Sheen's character to even leave alive. I was expecting him to murk everybody along with him, or him replacing Brando. Because as soon as he stood up and they all went down, I thought, oh shit, now it's his turn. It's his turn to continue on. I was like, no, he did his job and he fucking left. So I appreciate the ending for that, because like I honestly didn't think it was gonna end that way. But motherfucker should have left Lance alone. Like, fuck that guy.
I thought it was a very powerful ending for sure. The idea of he drops it's just like, I'm done, right? Like, drop the mic and walk away, right? Talk about just like such a strong action right there. And then I couldn't remember if he was going to call in them to blow it all up. But just the fact that he didn't, like, it was a very powerful end to the movie. And no credits, right? Am I wrong? Or was it the HBO version that just kind of him writing off and then just black and that was it? Maybe it was just the version that I saw, but
this might have been still during the movie era where there were no credits. This might have been like one of the last movies that just,
ends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think it's a must-see movie, especially if you're into film, because watching it again after, since the last time I saw it, I can see so many other movies or directors taking things from kind of Apocalypse Now specifically in how they have made their movies. So I think it's definitely a must-watch of just the sound mixing in a movie and the use of narration, the use of just, I enjoyed it for sure.
For me, I say the cinematography on this movie was amazing, outstanding.
Yeah.
The sound mixing, I can understand now that it was explained that it was more about the whole theater experience. Because for me, that was my biggest problem. I was like, I can barely hear. Volume up, and then all of a sudden, wow, 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 wow. And I was like, oh my God, too loud. I live in an apartment. Jesus Christ, I'm waking up my neighbors. But really, really great movie. I like the cinematography for me was the most outstanding thing of the movie. I guess I would, if I were to recommend myself to watch it, I would have watched JP's version, because at least the one that I watched was the HBO one. It felt like more quicker.
Oh, I thought it was long.
Thought it was long?
Yeah.
For me, it felt like, I guess because I also took a nap, but it felt like it jumped from like scene to scene. Like, you know, he was like in the crazy people's house, and now all of a sudden he's at the headquarters, and now all of a sudden he's like at the Vietnam thing. It just felt like whoop whoop, like a lot of jumps and leaps and bounds in the story. But then again, you know, I'm more used to like, I guess, slow-paced movies like a Star Wars or something like that. That it takes is more dialogue, then it moves on. But the old school ones, not the new ones.
Interesting. I saw it completely kind of opposite, that it was very slow, that it seemed longer just because of how, you know, it just seemed like they stretched it out because there was so much just silence for so much of the movie and not a whole lot of dialogue throughout the movie.
I actually like those parts, especially in the, I guess, second half of the movie. That it was more like talking through movement in a way.
Yeah.
Especially when he was about to like do the deal. I like that. I like that part to me.
So my final impression of the movie is that I feel like this movie was the quintessential war movie of that era. You know, like every era kind of has a war movie that kind of sums up like what war means. And it's always the same thing. War is violent. It's, you know, but this was the first time that I think we started to talk about like the PTSD of war, you know, and that's why I think the movie really holds up quite well, because that's something that we explore so much now with like, you know, mental health and self-care and people getting therapy for like, you know, the trauma they experience. And this movie kind of like, it's one of the first war movies that I know about that really like dwells into that, like hardcore, like, you know, these people are messed up and they're going to be messed up forever because of this crazy war that we shouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
Another movie that's like that, but talks about war of its time is All Quiet on the Western Front, if anybody's ever seen that. And that movie just talks about the horror of war, that all these young men, you know, these 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old guys rushed off to war because like propaganda glamorized it. Like, you'll come home a war hero and you'll get a wife and everything will be great after that. And, you know, you'll live happily ever after and you'll get to tell your grandkids all the cool war stories, you know. And, you know, all these kids rushed off to World War I and just got massacred by the millions, you know, for the sake of, you know, kings and governments. And then there's also like today, you know, you have war movies like Black Hawk Down, you know, and Dunkirk in 1917, and all these movies that kind of speak to this era of what war is. Even if it's not this era of war in the movie, like it's an old war movie, it talks about what war means to us today. So I think this movie is quintessential in that way, and I think it's an important Hollywood movie just for the history of how it was made, and also for like just the history of like how important it is to like our cinema lexicon, you know, our understanding of what cinema is and what it takes to get something like that done. So that's the impressions that I leave with.
Well, can I say that you guys really sold this movie to me, like, and I like that I know like the background to like each character and why everything was done the way it is. So like when I watch it, I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah. Wish I fucking had time for this.
I like everyone's perspective. It's interesting. This movie, it was my first time seeing it, but seeing it twice in a week was like, the first time I saw it silent, I was just watching like still frames, like, oh look, that one looks nice. Silhouette of the yellow silhouettes and black palm trees, like that was nice. I like the way they captured the angles and told the story. But my impression, my like favorite dude there, I think has to be Kurt. I don't know. I think I'm obsessed with him, just like his character. Like, I don't know. I think he reached a level of darkness. Maybe because I can relate to him, and he reached a level of darkness, and then like light bulb, you know, like I don't know, like that's who
I like that impression, really. Like I had never considered it from the point of view that, you know, this darkness is what led him to this enlightenment. And I'm going to go back and watch some of those Kurt scenes because I want to like see that again. Like, because I never considered that, but that's a really good, you know, plus he's in an Asian country and this whole Buddhist philosophy. Like, I think that's dope.
just in a sense, because he went to like his dossier like showed how like the fancy schools he went to. So that's like, who teaches these things?
Yeah.
White men with the European, central mind. You know what I mean? Like.
But Kurt was also very intelligent, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that enlightenment, I feel like it hit him. So he's like,
that's dope.
Yeah, I don't know. That's how I see it. That's my 2 cents there.
Well, if nobody else has any more final thoughts, that's pretty much it for the review recap of Apocalypse Now. We got next week Jason's pick, which is
Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance?
For Mr. Vengeance.
Oh, yeah. Has anybody seen that yet?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Have we
I haven't
talked
seen
about
it.
What kind of movie is this?
It's from the same director of Old Boy. It's a Korean movie about vengeance. It's a revenge flick. So it should be fun. I've been meaning to see it for years. The reason I put it on the list is because I've always failed to watch it. So now I get to watch it and talk to some people about it. So I'm really excited.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so that's for next week. It's available on Vudu, on Tubi, and on Amazon.
And Canopy if you have it.
Canopy, whatever that is.
Canopy is a free streaming service if you have a library card. So it has a lot of Criterion Collection movies and a lot more foreign movies and documentaries. So you don't even have to go in person to the library to get you can even just sign up for a digital library card and then use that number to. Yeah. If it's a Los Angeles Public Library card, you can sign up to Canopy. And what is it? It's like 11 movies a month. Something like that.
8 or 9 movies a month you can watch for free.
All I care is the one for next week.
There you go. So you can do it that way.
Yeah.
Cool.
There you go. So that's for next week. I need Dino, Naomi, and Monica. I need all 3 of you to text me. It doesn't have to be right now, but when you can, text me one movie that hopefully is on a streaming service to add it to our list. So far, we've gone through my pick, which was Back to the Future. That was week 1. Then we did Rocket Man, which was JP. This week was Isaac, Apocalypse Now. Next week is Jason with Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Got it.
Awesome.
Excited.
Awesome.
And that's it for the Cinema Club. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Subscribe, do all that good stuff.
Peace.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace out.
Ciao.
Hello there, I am Steve Des from Oya Demo Network. Don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget, you can literally click there or click there, and you watch more videos. Isn't that great?